All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going on a bit of a virtual tour to the Venosa Archaeological Park in southern Italy. Now, this isn't just any old pile of ruins. This is a place where you don't just see history, you learn to read it, written in layers of actual stone. We're talking about a story that's been thousands of years in the making.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat to frame our whole journey. How do you really read the history of a place? Is it all just about dates and names you memorize from a book? Or is it something more, something you can actually see and touch? Well, in Venosa, believe it or not, the answer is literally carved into the walls all around you.
The absolute perfect word for this place is palimpsest. So what's that? Imagine an ancient manuscript, where a monk script off the original text so he could write something new. But if you look close, you can still see the faint traces, kind of like ghosts, of the old words underneath. Venosa is exactly that, but a palimpsest of stone. Each civilization just built its story right on top of the last one. So, what do you say we start peeling back those layers?
Okay, our story begins with the first and deepest layer we can really see clearly, the Roman colony of Venusia. This is the bedrock, the foundation for everything else we're about to explore.
Now, to get why Venusia was such a big deal, you have to look at the bigger picture. This wasn't some random town. No way. It was founded way back in 291 BC as a super strategic outpost on the famous Appian Way. Think of the Appian Way as the Roman Empire's main artery, the superhighway connecting Rome to all of its empire in the east. That road meant a constant flow of soldiers, goods, and ideas, making Venusia a pretty cosmopolitan and wealthy hub right from the very beginning.
And this vibrant colony produced one of Latin literature's all-time greatest voices, the poet Horace, born right here in 65 BC. Now, he wasn't from some fancy noble family. His father was a freedman, a former slave, who sacrificed absolutely everything to give his son a world-class education. And even though Horace spent most of his life in the chaos of Rome, his poetry is just full of this deep longing for the simple country life he knew here. It's a perfect example of how a place can truly shape a person's entire view of the world.
All right, let's hit the fast-forward button. By about 1,000 years, the Roman Empire is now a distant memory, and a new, really formidable power has arrived in southern Italy, the Normans. And they chose Venosa as the home base for their dynasty, the powerful Altavilla family.
And they didn't just move in, they made a statement. They seized the spiritual heart of the city and turned it into their political headquarters. This whole complex, the Abbey of the Most Holy Trinity, became the undisputed center of Norman power. It was a place for both worship and for ruling with an iron fist.
And right here you can see exactly how the Normans built upon what was already there. This old basilica is Romanesque, but it was first built way back in the 5th century as an early Christian church, and that church itself was probably built on the ruins of an even older Roman pagan temple. The Normans just repurposed it, making it the most prestigious place to be buried for their greatest conquerors. Inside, you can find the tomb of the legendary Robert Guiscard, the Norman duke who basically forged their entire kingdom.
But the Normans, well, they had even bigger ambitions. What they started next is maybe the most dramatic and haunting part of the entire site, a massive, unfinished church known simply as L'Incompiuta, the unfinished.
You really have to see these two churches side by side to get the sheer scale of their ambition. The old basilica is a complete, beautiful spiritual center. L'Incompiuta, on the other hand, was just pure ambition cast in stone. This was a Norman project through and through, meant to be one of the largest churches in Europe, a raw monument to their power that, well, they just never finished.
And this is where that whole palimpsest idea just explodes into life. To build their grand new church, the Normans didn't go out and quarry new stone. Why would they? They looked at the Roman ruins all around them and basically saw a free, high-quality hardware store. They literally started recycling the Roman past to build their future.
So, as you walk through L'Incompiuta, it's kind of like a game of I Spy for ancient artifacts. This practice is called spolia. Look closely at the walls, and you'll spot it everywhere. Bits of Latin inscriptions just stuck in there upside down, ornate column tops used as simple building blocks, and massive stones ripped right out of the old Roman amphitheater. Every single block tells two stories, its original Roman one and its new medieval one. So, the million-dollar question is, why did they stop? Why abandon such a grand project? Truth is, nobody knows for sure. Maybe the money dried up.
Maybe a massive earthquake hit. Or maybe the political winds just shifted, leaving this colossal dream open to the sky, a cathedral without a roof. But the story of Venosa isn't just about Romans and Normans. Nope. There was another very important community that thrived here, and they left behind their own unique and powerful story.
So in that period between the fall of Rome and the rise of the Normans, let's say from the 4th to the 7th century AD, Venosa was home to a really vibrant Jewish community.
And their legacy is just incredible. A series of catacombs, the only monumental Jewish burial site of its kind known in all of southern Italy. The inscriptions themselves tell an amazing story of integration. They're written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, often all mixed together. That, along with all the carvings of the menorah, shows a confident, well-integrated community, adding another incredibly rich layer to Venosa's multicultural history.
So now, let's pull all these different threads together and look at the site as a whole, as that one single complex story we started with.
We've really journeyed through the layers of Venosa, haven't we? We started with the Roman colony, that vital hub on the Appian Way. Then, we uncovered the traces of its thriving Jewish community. On top of that rose an early Christian basilica, which was then totally transformed into the power center of the mighty Norman dynasty.
Ultimately, that's what makes Venosa so special. It's a place where history wasn't erased, it was just incorporated. Each new chapter was written directly on the page of the last one, creating this rich, complex, and beautiful palimpsest of stone that we can still read today if we just know how to look.
And this brings us right back to our first question, but hopefully with a new perspective. The story of Venosa reminds us that history is all around us, often just hidden in plain sight. So, it makes you wonder, right? What untold stories, what forgotten layers are just waiting to be read in the stones of your own world?